We all have great power within, even if we're not where we want to be in life. So even if we're not where we want to be in life, and if that's the case, then where is all of this hidden power? Where is it? Well, it's right here. It's in our subconscious mind. And that's what we're talking about today. In today's book of the day, we're reading The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And before we walk into some of the details of that book, first I want to show you something. And this comes from another book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Great book. If you haven't read it, highly recommend it. And so this little diagram, I wanted to talk about it because it's something that I look back at often because it's a good reminder. And I use what are these called? Index cards. You can see here. And I just write down little notes or things that stick out to me. And then I just look at them fairly frequently, a couple times a day maybe. I just kind of go through my index cards, and that's how I retain some of my information. Anyways, on the left-hand side, you see a circle that says energy with little arrows. That represents someone. The non-essentialist is how Greg McKeown puts it in his book. But that represents someone that is taking their energy and using it on lots of different areas and things within their life. And on the right-hand side, you see a long, skinny line. And that represents when a person takes all of their energy. It's the same amount of energy as the circle on the left. And you can see that they go very far. And the idea here is that in order for us to go far, we must do less. Less projects, less side jobs, less. And this is not just a one-time thing that comes up. It's recommended by lots of people everywhere, both with how successful people use their words to describe that they do less in order to get more, but also in their actions. A lot of times successful people, except for a few rare phenomenons like Elon Musk, there's a few rare phenomenons, but across the board, 99% of the people, they focus on less. And that's the idea here, is that this image is a great reminder that in order for us to get far in life, we must do less. And so it does become important figuring out what is it that we want out of life so that we can make sure we're focusing on the right thing. And if your life looks a little bit like this, where you're sporadic and you're doing lots of different things and you're using your energy in lots of different places, don't worry, because a lot of people, myself included, struggle with this. And I think, working toward the essentialist lifestyle, right, where we are putting more energy onto less things, I think that that's something that we work toward, not something that happens overnight. So if right now you're working multiple jobs, if you are balancing lots of things, don't panic, don't freak out. The first step here is just to become aware that we want to go from this to this. We just want to become aware of that. That's the very first thing. And then once we're aware about it, then what we want to do is kind of work toward that over time. So the book is Essentialism. It's a key book for personal development. Highly recommend you check it out. That's not the book we're talking about today. We're talking about The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. And so I'm going to pull up my notes here. We're going to just kind of jump into it. So first thing that I wanted to talk about is kind of the difference between the conscious and the subconscious mind. So the conscious mind, awareness. The conscious mind is responsible for our awareness of the present moment. It is the part of our mind that we actively use to think and make decisions, right? So when we're out and about and we're making decisions to, stop, go if we're driving, to turn, right? We're using our conscious mind in order to make those decisions. Now, rational thought, it processes information logically and analytically. It is involved in critical thinking, planning, and decision making, right? So it helps with our rational thought. It also helps with short-term memory. If you're a computer person, then this would also be known as RAM, random access memory. Computers, by the way, work very much like the human brain does, which is really interesting. That's where we get the idea of the computer chips, is literally from the human mind. They work basically the same. Short-term memory. So the conscious mind handles our short-term memory, dealing with information we are currently aware of and thinking about. And then voluntary actions. It controls our voluntary actions and responses, such as speaking, moving, interacting, and the environment, and interacting with the environment. So that's basically kind of a few bullet points on the conscious mind. But let's switch up here now, and let's talk a little bit more about the subconscious mind, or what used to be known as the non-conscious mind. So autopilot function. So the subconscious mind operates without our conscious awareness and controls our automatic functions, such as breathing, heartbeat, and digestion, and so much more. Storage of memories. It stores all of our memories, experiences, and habits, influencing our behaviors and reactions. Right? So when you were a kid, if you have some of those flashback memories, that is processed by and stored by your subconscious mind. And then emotions and feelings. The subconscious mind is the seat of emotions and feelings. It influences our emotional responses and perceptions. So I wanted to take one quick second to add a little tidbit on this. It is going to be another point that we'll talk about in a few minutes as well. But this is why getting a good night's sleep is so important. Because when you are able to get a good night's sleep, when I'm able to get a good night's sleep, what happens is that we are able to basically recharge our body, recharge our mind, and basically balance out our hormones. And this helps because it helps us feel less angry, less stressed, less emotional. And emotional being kind of the negative connotation of emotional. And so that's one of the reasons why sleeping is so important, is because it helps us to get that balance. The subconscious mind also handles beliefs and habits. It holds our beliefs, attitudes, and habits, which can be changed through repetition and positive affirmations. And then creative power as well. The subconscious mind is connected to creativity and intuition, providing insights and ideas beyond our conscious reasoning. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the interaction between the two, the conscious and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind can send information to the subconscious mind through thoughts, beliefs, and repeated actions. This will be important as we continue on talking about this book. So just remember, thoughts, beliefs, and repeated actions, right? That helps us pass from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind. And so we'll talk more on that in a second. And then the subconscious mind influences the conscious mind by bringing stored memories, emotions, and habits into our awareness, often shaping our perceptions and responses without us realizing it, right? So basically the subconscious mind passes feedback to our conscious mind based on our past feelings, experiences, and everything like that. Okay, so that's kind of the difference between the conscious and the subconscious mind and how they work together. Okay, so beliefs and thoughts deeply ingrained in our subconscious mind shape our reality. Okay, so, and for the record, just like with this book and just like any other book that I read, I don't necessarily agree with everything that is being talked about in this book. And Abraham Lincoln said, "I have learned something from everyone I've met, and sometimes it's what not to do," right? And so the point here, and really what my job is to read a book a day and report back to you and to myself on what my findings are from the book. So do I agree with all the authors that I read? Absolutely not. Do I agree with a lot of them? Yes, absolutely. And are we able to find things that we agree with in just about everybody that we read and study? Absolutely. And sometimes, like Abraham Lincoln said, it's what not to do, right? But there's always lessons to be learned. So I just want to put that out there, that I don't necessarily agree 100% with every single book that I read, that, we're reading together. We're reading a lot of books. A book a day is a lot. Okay. Anyways, so your subconscious mind is the builder of your body and can heal you. So the thoughts and beliefs you hold affect your physical health and well-being. So this is some of that beliefs, the repetitive communication between your subconscious mind and your conscious mind, from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind. This can help really change your beliefs. And so if you're constantly repeating to yourself, I don't feel good, I feel sick, then there's a higher probability that you're going to continue to not feel good and continue to not feel sick, because you're basically passing that message along to your subconscious mind, and that is getting passed along to all the other parts of your body, right? The different hormones are getting created for your emotions that are going to help back that up, because that's kind of the narrative that you're giving to yourself, and that's going to continue just to feed off of each other. So one of the points and my key takeaways from this book is that we need to be very careful with the things that we're saying inside of our own mind, right? Because nobody ever hears what we're saying right here inside of our own mind when no one else is around. But you and I both know the thoughts that are going into our mind and the things that we're saying to ourselves when we're not talking out loud. And what I'm saying here is that we need to be very careful when we are thinking, because we may not realize it. It may seem insignificant at the time, but the things that we're saying are going to, over time, shape our reality, because they will be passed along to our subconscious mind as a fact. So something that I need to work on myself, because I struggle with this internally. Sometimes I have negative thought patterns that I have in my mind. And so working toward killing those negative thought patterns and replacing them with positive thought patterns. And so if you're not even sure where to start with this, just pick one thought. It can be you don't have to pick the most aggressive one. You can if you want to. Pick one thought that you struggle with and you say to yourself over and over again, and just write it down on a piece of paper, write it down on index cards, write it down on your whiteboard, write it down on a notepad, write it down on your arm. I don't care what we do here, but tell yourself that you are not going to repeat that in the future. You're not going to say that internally anymore. And, it can be a simple one, so that, you can start small, and then you can, once you kind of get in the habit of killing some of these internal negative thought patterns that we have, once we kind of figure out how to stop one of them, probably an easy one is the best way to start, then we can go after some of the more aggressive ones. Every thought is a cause and every condition is an effect. So this principle highlights that the thoughts you plant in your subconscious mind can become the conditions in your life as well. So it kind of plays both ways. And so, basically what they're saying here is that when we kind of get things ingrained and embedded into our minds, the things that we are constantly thinking about, they have a higher probability of coming into our reality because we're focused on them, right? It's the same reason why we write down our goals. If we have a goal that we want to accomplish, well, when we write down our goals and we're looking at it constantly, we're sending a cue to our mind, and that's getting processed down to our subconscious mind, saying, hey, this is something that we are going to achieve. And so therefore, subconsciously, without us even knowing it, things are going to take place, because maybe we're going to talk differently, or we're going to act differently. Maybe we're going to say something different on a sales call, and because we really need to close a deal, right? And we need to get that money because that's part of our goal or whatever. So our subconscious mind may send a cue to us to try a different line on a sales call than we might usually do, right? This is one example. And so let's go ahead and go on to the next one. So your mind works like a syllogism. And I have not heard of this word before, so I'm going to go through it real quick because this helps me learn. Whatever major premise of your conscious mind assumes to be true determines the conclusion your subconscious mind comes to. This book was written by a doctor, so it's a little bit challenging to read sometimes with some of the quotes that they have in here. But this illustrates how deeply held beliefs guide the subconscious mind to shape our reality accordingly. So first of all, let me actually pull up Google real quick, because I want to know how to even say this, because I feel like I'm saying it wrong. So I'm going to pull up Google Translate here. And let's see here. Let's do this. We'll go English.
Syllogismus.
That's Latin. Let's not do Latin. Let's go English to English.
Syllogism.
Yeah, syllogism. Okay, great. So we got that said right? We learn a new word each day. Nothing wrong with that. So a syllogism is a form of logical reasoning where a conclusion is drawn from two given or assumed premises. A syllogism consists of three parts: a major premise, a minor premise, and a conclusion. The structure of a syllogism ensures that if the premises are true, the conclusion must also be true. So here's an example of a syllogism. So major premise, all humans are mortal. Minor premise, Socrates is a human. Conclusion, therefore, Socrates is a mortal, right? And so in the context of the power of the subconscious mind, it means that if you assume a major premise, a deeply held belief, your subconscious mind will draw conclusions based on that belief, shaping your reality accordingly, okay? So there's a new word for you. Basically, the subconscious mind works with the conscious mind, and it pushes things into our reality because they play back and forth off of each other, right? Or at least that's the stance here in the book. So a couple more points here. Let me actually back out to see. I think I got 2 more points from the book that I wanted to go over with you. So number 1 is sleep, right? So one of the key points that they gave us in the book as a tactic, right? This is one of the tactical things that they gave us in the book. Right before you're going to sleep at night, think about a problem that you're trying to solve, and think about it over and over and over again. And just think about it like crazy. Like just think about it as you're falling asleep, and do this consistently over the course of as long as it takes, a couple nights, a couple weeks, maybe a month. And make sure that you're, if you can, try to get a full night's sleep, because that's going to be a crucial component for obtaining the answers to the hard problems, right? And the idea here is that when we focus on that as we're going to sleep, when our subconscious mind becomes active because we are asleep, that's when the subconscious mind is active. In majority is when we fall asleep. It will then go into all of its resources, right? You get basically the back end of your mind gets unlocked at night when you're going to sleep. And so when you're thinking about a major problem that you're having, when you wake up the next morning, hopefully your subconscious mind went back in there and figured out that super complex problem for you, so that when you wake up the next day, you actually have the answer to that problem. So for example, if you've ever had like something, something crazy hard that you couldn't figure out, and you kept staying up later and later at night, but then you woke up the next morning and you were able to figure it out in like 10 minutes, that's going to be an idea. That's basically what the idea is here, right? And then the last tip that I have from the book is that visualization. Visualize your goals clearly and vividly to engage your subconscious mind. So like I said earlier, that's one of the reasons why we write down our goals. Grant Cardone writes down his goals 2-3 times a day sometimes even more. He even writes down his goals a lot of times when he goes through a hard situation. So if he loses a deal or something bad happens, he pulls out a notepad or his little 10X journal, and he writes down his goals again. And he's been in the habit of doing that for years. I only know because I was in his coaching program, Cardone University. And so he tells us all the stories and whatnot. And so the power of visualization, actually envisioning yourself actually accomplishing the goals that you want. So don't be afraid to set big goals. And then, when we set big goals, we also want to visualize them and, work toward them, obviously. So this isn't like a magic genie thing, like all we have to do is think and, things will happen. But this is going to be a key component for actually getting it done. Because if we don't have a vision of where to go, if we don't know where we're going, but then we drift around and we don't go anywhere. That's a quote from Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so that's kind of the idea. So again, the book was Essentialism for this little diagram right here. And then the book of the day is The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. The reason why I make these videos, by the way, is because I'm reading a book a day, Monday through Friday, sometimes on Saturday as well too. And when I'm reading a book a day, it's a lot of information to process. And one of the ways that I found that I process information is by actually forcing myself to talk about the information and teach it. And so I just decided, hey, I'll record some of these videos. Maybe something that I read and talk about will actually encourage you to go out and do something with your life. I hope that is the case. You're definitely helping me out, because just having me talk about this helps me learn and retain information as well too. So Guys, thanks for coming to this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.